My name is Ryan, and you're watching Goreasm, the channel where I fill your void on all things horror, weird, and just plain creepy. Today we're talking about... Oh. Hello?
It's Brittany, bitch.
Oh. Hey Britt, how are you, gal? You got me. This is also going to be a quick spoiler-free review, so I'm not going to give anything away, but if you have seen it, if you're planning on seeing it, leave some comments down below so we can talk all things The Black Phone. Directed by Scott Derrickson, who did Doctor Strange. He did, probably his most popular, I would say, is Sinister. I really enjoyed that film. Ethan Hawke actually is also in that. And my personal favorite is The Exorcism of Emily Rose. I thoroughly enjoyed that film. I've always loved it. It was really scary to me back then, and it's scary to me today. If you haven't seen it, definitely check that out. But anyways, this film is rated R, and we know that's a very exciting thing for horror fans just because probably the last 2 years we've been getting a lot of PG-13 horror films, which is fine, but just seeing that it was rated R was exciting because that just means the horror element was going to be that much more amplified, and that was something I was looking forward to for sure. This is also produced by Blumhouse. The Black Phone actually was a short that was written by Joe Hill, who is the iconic, the legend, Stephen King. It's his son. He wrote it in 2004, so it was a while ago. I think it's only like 24, 26 pages or something, hence the name, it's a short, but I would be interested to see what the differences are between the film and the short. I'm assuming that the film had to add a lot more stuff into it only because, again, it's a short. But if you have read it, I would be interested to see what you think as far as if it stayed true to that. All right, so if you don't know what this movie's about, I'm gonna tell you right now. Basically, it takes place in the 70s. This small town is plagued by a serial killer slash child kidnapper who they refer to as the Grabber. He is played by Ethan Hawke, and the story revolves around the main character of Finney, who is played by Mason Thames. He has been kidnapped, and he is receiving these phone calls from this phone on the wall that no longer works, but he's getting the calls from the Grabber's past victims, and they're essentially trying to help him escape. All while his sister Gwen, played by Madeline McGraw, she is kind of like having these type vision things where she is trying to solve the mystery of where her brother has disappeared to and where he's being held. So first off, I think that the movie required a lot from the child actors, and sometimes I think we can get to a little bit, iffy territory when it comes to kids acting, but I thought that Finney and Gwen did such an amazing job. I think Finney, for instance, he, since the movie takes place majority in the basement, he has like a lot of like arcs to go through, and he just shows like from the beginning of the film to the end of the film his like journey and how much he has like evolved in that short amount of time. He just brought so much to the film. I have never seen him before, but I definitely look forward to things he does in the future. And Gwen, his sister, was like super funny. They had like really clever writing for her. She was like a spitfire, but I really enjoyed her character because she was almost like a hero in a way, but she brought a lot to the film, and she brought a lot to like their relationship and like that whole dynamic, and I definitely was brought to a little tears at the end, and that's not hard to do. I definitely am a sap when it comes to films, but I just was invested in both of their journeys and the story. All right, Ethan Hawke, I thought he was really great in this film. I mean, everybody knows he's a great actor, but I think it was like his demure and how subtle he was that almost made it more terrifying because he didn't have to do a lot, and it was still conveyed the emotion that something really, really scary was happening. And honestly, a lot of times you don't really see his face because he's wearing a mask, and different masks at that. And I feel like each mask would represent every emotion that he was going through or he was feeling at the time. But just like his eyes, his like how he would speak and everything, it just was really terrifying. And to be honest, I think the other thing that is really creepy about this film is that it feels realistic. Like it feels like this could be your neighbor, or I mean, I hope it's not your neighbor, but I mean, you feel like this could happen in like a small community, and like this could be a true story, or that it was a story back in the 70s or whatever, and that made it even more terrifying. And I just think that he really played the part so perfectly. So I've heard a lot of things about the film because originally this film debuted last year sometime at a festival, and then it was supposed to come out, but then they delayed it. So I think a lot of people have seen this film pretty early. I think some people are expecting a specific type of film because it is rated R and is kind of being marketed as a horror film, but this just felt more like a thriller movie that had a really great story that also had a lot of really great scares too. One of the other things that I really, really like about this film is the originality. I think we kind of get to a place where the general population starts to think, and I'm not including myself in this, but the general population starts to think that horror films aren't necessarily the most original, and I think that they're stereotyping the genre because I have seen so many original horror films. But I will say that this is another one that I can add to that list because, damn it, this one is original and I really, really enjoyed it. On top of that, I just think that someone that might not necessarily be into horror can watch this film and still really enjoy it. Yes, it has jump scares, and yes, it has parts that are scary and, you know, nail biting and tension filled, but I still think overall that is a great film that anyone can really enjoy. Honestly, I really don't have any negatives about the film. I think that The Black Phone was really, really great. And, you know, I think it was one of, I'm trying to think, I guess I would say it was probably one of the best films I've seen horror-wise this last year. I guess the one thing that I can say is that the beginning of the film, they set up so much backstory on Finney and Gwen and all the other kids and everything, and they really kind of go in depth of how Finney, his life is at school and even at home and all these things. But then I guess the film doesn't really go into much backstory about the grabber and about Ethan Hawke's character. So it is a rarity, and I say rarity, I mean very, very rare, that I ever think a film should be longer. But I do really think that this film could have added 15, 20 minutes extra if it meant that we were going to get more backstory from Ethan Hawke's character, and I would have loved to just go a little bit more in depth with that. There also was a little bit of a sprinkle about their mom in the film, and I would have just also enjoyed kind of hearing a little bit about that. But I know it was a short story, so maybe it was written this way that there wasn't a ton of information or backstory about the character. But that is one thing that I can say. It's not a negative, it's just something that I would have liked to see more of. Again, that is my quick review of The Black Phone. I want to do all this fresh in my mind. I don't know why I'm doing that. I guess I'm a cheerleader. Have you seen it? Are you planning on seeing it? If so, what did you think about it? So leave some comments down below. I'm going to talk all things The Black Phone and also horror related. Again, my name is Ryan, so thanks for joining me. I have a lot of really cool videos coming up, so like, subscribe, and we will talk soon.